I remember the Irish Catholic nun coming to see us, who was the sister of one of the people we looked after. And she said to me a profound statement. She said she thought her brother had been lost into this abyss of the drug-using scene in London. And when she came and saw him cared for by his friends and peers, some of whom were very fragile in their own lives, when she saw that her brother had actually been held as part of this community, she understood that he had not been completely lost, and that gave her a great sense of understanding and reassurance that he had not lived a life that was completely lost, but had been a member of a community that loved and cared for him and showed that in his final hours. We carried on to run a multi-faith memorial service for our community, where we had both people from the Muslim faith, the Jewish faith, the Catholic, the Protestant faith, all coming together to run an annual memorial service. And what most surprised me was the number of Italian families who came every year to that memorial service. And what shocked me most was why they came. They said it was the only time they could mourn their children honestly, that they could mourn their children with other people who had loved their children, and they could speak openly about the love for their children without shame, without fear, and without stigma. We currently see in Indonesia drug laws being passed that not only criminalise us as drug users, but criminalise our parents if they do not report us to the officials, to the institutions. How far does stigma go that it moves beyond us as the people who make choices around our drug use, to our families, to our children, and even to our parents? The other appeal I'd like to make to you is from a great blessing that I take from living in the UK. We fought our epidemic against HIV, and we largely overcame it. We learned key strategies that were successful, and we shared those with other countries around the world. We realised that needle exchange, opiate substitution therapies like methadone and buprenorphine, outreach, antiretroviral treatments, all of these things could be effective in halting the HIV epidemic among people who use drugs. My best friend and business partner has lived with HIV since the early 1990s. He tells me of a time when he was in Edinburgh, what was then known as the AIDS capital of Europe, where they had 50% HIV rates among injecting drug users. He was sitting down with a group of 16 friends recently to remember their other friends, a community of over 100 of them, they were the only remaining people alive at this point. However, that was his generation. The next generations in Edinburgh haven't seen the same HIV levels because they have implemented effective harm reduction services in order to prevent HIV, both among injecting drug users, but also impacting on the wider community. One of the things I ask you for is that too often the moral argument is used against harm reduction. Very sadly, having cited the Catholic Church for its very good works on the ground with us, there have also been arguments about claiming that harm reduction is anti-life. And I struggle to see how saving our lives can be anti-life. In Russia, 10,000 people die every year of heroin overdoses that are completely preventable. If we had opiate substitution therapies on the ground, those people would have the choice of life. Even if you do not agree with our decisions to take drugs, and I respect your decisions, your beliefs, please understand that you cannot rehabilitate a dead drug user. We have no choice once we are dead. So please help us at this time as the epidemic of HIV is increasingly driven by injecting drug use around the world. Please help us put in place those prevention strategies that we know work. In fact, we know they work so well that UNAIDS has adopted them, and even the Commission on Narcotic Drugs, which for so long has been resistant to describing harm reduction strategies, although it can still not bring itself to utter the words, has at least now described the key interventions of harm reduction as key measures of HIV prevention. Please use your moral authority to help save lives around the world, and I look forward to an ongoing dialogue with you. Thank you.